Alright, so episode 9 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds has dropped. The big musical episode, Subspace Rhapsody. What did I think? I liked it. There's a lot of great moments throughout this episode, and a lot that I was dying laughing of. And after last week's episode, this is the perfect palate cleanser of sorts, with how dark last week's episode got. But for this review, I need to break it into two sections. The music, which, you know, you don't have to worry, I don't plan to sing, and two characters' moments that I'm really, really happy about, being, Spock and Chapel, and how that goes into TOS, and uh, what Kirk said James Kirk, I should mention, because both James and Sam are in this episode. So, the music. The musical side of this episode. What did I think? Um, it was good. I knew that Christina Chong and the actress who plays Uhura in this episode were going to be really, really good because, they're professional singers. That's what they do. Um, but there was some real surprises in this episode that I was kind of blown away by. I was blown away by Anson Mount's singing performance in this episode. I thought that was really good. I also found it fucking hilarious when, his partner Patel tried to contact him because of him canceling on their vacation. Um, and him just there singing about it. They're singing, and it ends with him on both knees, hand on heart, doing that, and it took on to end the hail to snap both of them out of it. And I thought that was pretty funny because Pike's like, why did I just say all of that in front of my crew? Um, I thought he had a really good singing voice. Really was not expecting that. The next one that I really wasn't expecting to have like a decent singing voice was Rebecca Romaine as Una Chin Riley. Um, Again, was not expecting that. Really enjoyed it. Except for the duet or not necessarily duet, but when she was singing in the Pike's Ready Room with La'an, and for some reason just decided, hey, let me just deactivate the gravity in here for a second. I just did not like that. That's the only thing that I didn't like. Everything else I really liked. And then, of course, the big one that I wasn't sure on and was pleasantly blown away. Ethan Peck as Mr. Spock. Him singing. That was wild. I didn't, again, like with Anson Mount and Rebecca Romaine, was not expecting them to be this good. Um, but yeah, really, really enjoyed it. Wasn't expecting it to be like an hour long. I expected that for next week's episode being the series finale. Um, but yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. Because even though like I'm not a big musical guy, like I like the musical Scrubs episode a lot. And my two favorite musicals is Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny and South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which they are musicals. Um, and I guess kind of the Steven Universe movie, in a sense, that's technically a musical. And I do like the Hugh Jackman Les Mis and The Greatest Showman. Uh, anyway, yeah. So another question is, am I going to put any of these songs onto one of my playlists? And maybe, definitely the first song, because I really did like the opening song to this episode, and maybe Spock's Ballad as well. I'm not 100% sure on that one. That'll probably just, go into like a breakup playlist of mine. Um, for whenever the fuck I get into another relationship to lead to a breakup. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the music side of this episode. So now that that's covered, let's talk about the non-music parts of this episode. And then I'm going to save another music bit at the very end that I almost forgot about that had me dying of laughter. And again, I'll get to that. I'm going to make sure that I remember it. So yeah, this episode, obviously, as I mentioned, we do see Lieutenant Kirk come back, and it's still a ways away from him becoming first officer, and he has a lot to learn, so he's being shadowing number one. And number one mentions that when that she shadowed Pike at one point. So yeah, James Kirk. I need to make mention of that because Sam does show up. Jim Kirk had a really nice moment with Spock in this episode. Spock's explaining things, and Jim just says, like he probably would have in TOS, was like, "That's very good of you, Mr. Spock. I almost understood what you were talking about," and that felt like James Kirk to me. Um, because I know there's still a lot of contention in the community on whether or not Paul Wesley feels like Kirk. Now, in the last episode that he appeared in, um, episode 6, I really liked, and I really felt like it was the James Kirk that we know, the cool, calm, calculated Kirk. This Kirk kind of goes on the barely kind of doesn't really have much to do. Also, Paul Wesley singing again, another shocker. But the big thing about this episode is that La'an finally talks to Jim about what happened 6 episodes earlier. In time, yesterday and yesterday and yesterday, or whatever the episode was called. And she point blankly explains it to him, like how she felt about this other Jim. And he saying, I get it, I got that connection too. But here's the thing, I don't do relationships because the one person he was interested in was Carol. He name drops Carol Marcus. And not only does he name drop Carol Marcus, he says that she's currently pregnant with David Marcus, and that she's on Starbase 1, and he also says that he doesn't stay around for too long. That I was very happy about. Yes, it is essentially a nod to Wrath of Khan with, when we do see Carol Marcus as well as David Marcus show up. It's just nice that we now have a kind of rough idea of when he's going to be born. For by time the Wrath of Khan takes place. So that was really good. I really, really enjoyed that. And now the second last thing to talk about during this review is I called it. I think a lot of people did, but I definitely called that Spock and Chapel were not going to last until the end of this season. And I'm kind of glad for that. They're not dragging this relationship out, because we do know something happened with them in the original series for Nurse Chapel to be still obsessed with Spock, in a sense, in the original series. There was an episode where she, in the original series, where she even admits to either loving him or still loving him. And, yeah, so this episode has them break up because she got approved for one of her fellowships. And I think it's with the same person from that episode in season 1 or season 2. I forget which one it is, of where it's one of her former lovers and he's an android and all that. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, or I'll wait until Trek Central comes out with Citation Observation, which will then fill in the blanks for me there. So yeah, the main reason why I'm happy about this is because it leads Grievance into the TOS for how Spock treats Chapel. In the original series, Spock treats Chapel, as well as he could, but there's still definitely something there. and we get that in Strange New Worlds, because of their breakup. He's feeling very hurt. You know, he's tried really, really hard with this relationship, to open up, to explore his human half, essentially, and with that, with especially with her not telling him, and then just him finding out and overhearing it as they get to the Enterprise's version of 10 Forward, which then results into Jess Bush having a singing scene. I thought that was okay. It definitely, the way the vocals that she was given felt like another song, another popular song, and I can't put my finger onto it. Um, but yeah, even at the end of the episode when they're all singing and all that, and they're all happy, she turns to Spock, and Spock just looks at her and walks away. You know, doesn't even meet her smile, doesn't even acknowledge her or anything, and just walks away. And that's what I loved, because to me, having just finished my watch through, first ever time watching through the original series, that lines up with that now. And that's pretty good in my opinion. So the last thing to talk about, in terms of the musical side of things, is, you know, when they're at the end of towards the end of the episode, they're trying to reach a certain thingamabob, in order to break the singing curse, on them. But whilst this is happening, it's not, you know, it's not just affecting the Enterprise, it's affecting a whole bunch of Federation ships. And then we also learn the Klingons as well. There's 3 Katinga classes coming, and you know, they plan to blow up this subspace thing, and we know if they do that, it's going to wipe out every ship that's infected with it. And so whilst they're trying to get more people to sing, and that, Pike is like, you know what, hail those Klingons. And the scene of those Klingons singing, I fully expected and hoped that it would be Klingon opera. You know, that's the one thing we know of from The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. I'm not too sure about Voyager. Of Klingon opera. And I think we have heard, you know, Worf sing a few times. But I was not expecting what I saw. As soon as I saw it, I just died laughing. And it's not your usual continuing to laugh type of laugh. It was, I laughed so hard it ended in a coughing fit type of laugh. I loved that bit that much. So overall, Subspace Rhapsody is a fantastic episode. I really, really enjoyed it. You know, it's seeding seeds for stuff that happens in the original series and then in the motion picture movie era, but as well as giving us Star Trek's first musical episode. You know, nearly every show needs to have a musical episode, and I think Doctor Who is getting one in season 14. So yeah. But overall, I enjoyed it. As someone who's not a musical guy, I enjoyed it. So that's going to be my review. If you want to see more Star Trek reviews, you know, next week is Strange New Worlds' last episode for this season. Then make sure to subscribe, because I have a whole bunch of other Star Trek content coming out. Mainly some Star Trek what if theories, because I got a list raring to go. I just need to find the time to develop these more, the titles more. So anyway, if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe, and thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you tomorrow for my Pulp Fiction review. I'll see you all next time.